Hello and welcome to Out of Britain with me, Radhika Iyer. I'm coming to you from one of my favorite streets in central London, Regent Street. And you can see how beautiful it is, just the way it curves into the lanes of London. Regent Street for over 200 years has offered some great memories, all year round shopping experience, world-class shopping experience to a lot of people, hundreds and thousands of people who visit Regent Street every single year. But along with the events that have happened in Regent Street, oops, there's a bus. But let's move across and let me show you that purple little board, which is just on the other side of the road. It's called Veeraswamy. You see the flag down there. That is London's oldest surviving Indian restaurant, not just offering gastronomical memories and delights, but this Veeraswamy for nearly 100 years has been a venue for some of the greats to be there, to have meetings. Some political decisions have taken place, and Veeraswamy has been witness to all of these greats, such as Charlie Chaplin, Jawaharlal Nehru, Gandhi was there. The group has even catered to the late Queen Elizabeth. Some of the greatest Hollywood actors were there. However, about 100 years since its existence, and it's going to be celebrating its 100th year of existence very soon, there has been a spoke in the wheel. The Crown Estate, which owns this building, is now refusing to extend the lease where Veeraswamy has occupied and where its restaurants operate from. And so we're going to be having a chat with the owners of Veeraswamy, with some patrons at Veeraswamy, who are going to reminisce just what this name, this restaurant, and the place means to them. Follow me on Out of Britain. I'm coming to you from London's oldest surviving Indian restaurant, Veeraswamy. Veeraswamy is not just a name, as I've learnt and been reassured this morning, basis a conversation that I've had with the Leap, but we'll go into that in a bit. It's a piece of history. The legacy runs for nearly 100 years. In April 2026, Veeraswamy turns 100 years old. It's one of the favorites for many, including the royal family. And to talk about Veeraswamy, the future of Veeraswamy, which currently, unfortunately, is not looking very good, with the Crown Estate, which is the owner of the building we're coming to you from, not willing to extend the lease for Veeraswamy. We'll chat a little bit about just all the options for Veeraswamy, which Ranjit will take us through. But let me do a quick round of introductions before we begin this conversation. I'll start from my left, perhaps. Ranjit Mathrani, yes, you can.
Hello, I'm Ranjit Mathrani. I and my wife are the owners of Veeraswamy and other fine restaurants. And this has been a restaurant which we've owned now for 28 years and is very much part of our life and our history and our passion.
I believe that's probably a part of many other lives Veeraswamy has been, and we're going to find out about that. Max, hi.
Hi, Max Robinson. I'm a solicitor. I've acted for Ranjit and Amita for many years, and I'm a very keen lover of Veeraswamy, the restaurant, the iconic nature of the institution that it has been for many years, and of course the food.
Yes, indeed.
I'm Namita Punjabi, as Ranjit had said, that our family owns Veeraswamy for 28 years, and we have really brought it back to its glory and glamour of the 1930s in the time that we've had.
Excellent. Hi, Karan.
I'm Karan Villamoria, the founder of Cobra Beer and a member of the House of Lords, an independent crossbench peer for the past 19 years. And I am a long-standing customer of Veeraswamy's from the time I came to study in the UK at the age of 19, over 40 years ago. So I've known this restaurant as a student. I've known it as somebody who supplied it as a product, and it's been part of my whole stay in this country part of the fabric of London, and I have lots to say about it.
Excellent. We'll go back to you being a teenager soon. Hi.
Hi, I'm Michael Sandler. I'm a public relations consultant. I run a international public relations company. And I first came to Veeraswamy when I was 11 years old. I was brought up in Yorkshire. On a trip to London, my father brought me to Veeraswamy. It was the first time I had tasted Indian food, and I was totally blown away by it. I'm a frequent visitor to India, and I met Ratlet in
Dehradun was it?
Dehradun, yes,
Yeah.
yes, Varna in Dehradun on a holiday, which, or to call it a holiday, when we went to a spa, and we've been friendly ever since.
Well, my mother and brother lived there.
Sorry?
Hey, excellent.
I almost lived.
I believe.
Hi, so I'm Dilip Pathak, and I have spent a substantial amount of my career in the financial world, mostly in private equity for the last few decades, which has sort of taken me around the world, from the United States to the Far East, and then finally to London, where I ran my firm's European operation. So I've traveled extensively, which gives me a good basis for comparison, I'd like to believe. And Ranjit and Namita's restaurants, including Veeraswamy at the top, sort of are right up there on the list globally. Forget about just London, globally. And it is sort of amusing that every time if there's someone important who comes from overseas, and I need to have a private conversation with them, and I take them to an Indian restaurant, there's no place else I can think of other than turning to Ranjit and saying, can you get me a table at one of your top places? Okay?
Thanks for saying that. Thanks for saying that, because when you look at the history or the list of people who visited Veeraswamy, such as Winston Churchill and Gandhi and Nehru and Chaplin, you would think so many important conversations would have happened here, so many decisions would have been taken, political or otherwise, which could have formed history in its own right. I was just thinking, you said you were 19 when you first came, probably you were 11. Anyone younger when they first?
20.
When you were 20.
I was 20, yeah.
Okay.
I was 19.
You were 19 as
here
well.
When I was at Cambridge on our day out to London by Dr. Vikram Sarabhai.
Okay.
And his son Kartikeya, who studied with me.
Wow.
And the treat was Veeraswamy on Swallow Street.
Wow. Lovely. Thanks for sharing that.
In many ways, reflecting on it, my whole business, I owe it to Veeraswamy, because the legend has it that the King of Denmark used to visit Veeraswamy, and as a present, he would send a case of Carlsberg beer. And that's how the tradition of beer with Indian food, and in particular Carlsberg, started decades ago. Here, this restaurant.
Yeah.
And when I started Cobra, every Indian restaurant, decades later, sold Carlsberg beer. Since then, of course, I displaced Carlsberg beer, but it all started here. So this restaurant is the origin of my business, so I owe this restaurant so much.
But also,
Fantastic, isn't it?
Can I just say so that we also were probably the first customer, Karen, with Chutney Mary for Cobra beer. We started it off.
Indeed.
With your estate car, bringing with your friend the first cases of Cobra beer into a restaurant.
And we had offices in the same building.
That's right.
And now Ranjit and I went to the same college at Cambridge, Sydney, Sussex, Oliver Cromwell's college.
I see. Okay, lots of things to talk about. But the trend that Karan was referring to is it's a very British thing to do, to have curry with beer, and it's no other way to do it. This is beautiful, and I'm waiting to go through all these conversations and reminisce with you your memories. But let's talk about today, which unfortunately isn't very pleasant, is it? Ranjit, where is Veeraswamy currently? Tell us about the legal engagement with Crown Estate. Take us through that.
Thank you. Almost 1 year ago, I got a letter out of the blue from the property manager of the Crown Estates asking to come and have a chat with them. 1.5 years previously, they'd been approaching us whether we want to extend Veeraswamy's demise in this building when the lease came to be renewed this year. And I came thinking it is to discuss the extension of the lease. And in fact, it was the other way around. He informed me that they want to terminate our lease without any further discussion, without any preliminary warning about that. And then we had to immediately act, and under law, we are protected legally. We can a lease comes to end in June this year, and we're entitled to apply to the courts for an extension of the lease for 14 years, unless the landlord objects on 1 or 2 grounds. Either they need to demolish it substantially or they need their premises for their own use. So we immediately filed an application in the court to protect our status there. And whilst we hopefully thought we'd be able to sort out a compromise with the Crown. So the immediate situation is that we are not under threat of immediate eviction. The worst case scenario is we'll have to fight the court battle all the way through to March or April next year. June next year is expensive, time consuming, and at that stage the court will decide there. And if they decide
by when you could potentially be 100 years old.
We'll be potentially 100 years old in April next year, so we'll be here for 100th celebration, and it will be done with great style and panoply. So that's
just to clarify to our viewers that Veeraswamy is very much open despite this legal litigation, and I can see customers ordering away.
However, what has happened there is that the Crown Estates has proved remarkably intransigent and unwilling to compromise. They say that they need us to be out, because they want 11 square meters of a ground floor entrance to enlarge their entrance in order to have a reception desk and a post room for service and managed offices, both of which are regarded as being fundamental to the business. You can see from my raised eyebrows the skepticism with which I view that statement. And then they say, we can't, that's what told us individually, personally. In courts, they've said they need the premises because all the work they're doing to modernize the rest of the building, they can't do without. They can't do without us being out of it. In discussion, we have proposed numerous alternatives. We propose giving us the side entrance of the retail unit, except moving entrance sideways, so we could then move the retail unit property part of it and use that. We have proposed they could move their reception desk on the first floor, but they've refused to actually budge. And I think it is based on a sense of administrative convenience, bureaucratic convenience. It's much simpler to have the whole building of offices, homogeneous, neat, organized, and tidy, with a complete disregard for history and a complete unawareness. I think there's a cultural Philistinism. Without being provocative, had it been La Gavroche, it should be here on the first floor. I'm not certain they'd have done the same thing. I think
perhaps culturally insensitive.
Insensitive, unaware of the importance.
What is the worst that can happen to Veeraswamy? Could there be, obviously there are so many ifs and buts, and this is all a legal matter now that it's in court. But closing down, is that a possibility with what is in front of you?
That is a possibility, and that is a possibility if the courts, if we fight all the way to the courts, no compromise, and then the courts decide against us, and then the courts say you have to leave within 3 months, that would obviously lead to a closure of Veeraswamy with a reopening at an uncertain date, again in other premises. But almost certainly, if it goes against us, we will have to leave the premises. And the worst case scenario, we might have to close it down. The best or the least bad case scenario is we have to, at great cost, at great expense, create another Veeraswamy with all the money and effort that will involve and diversion of resources.
Yeah, that'll be an expensive affair, as I can make out. The sources in the Crown Estate say that the building needs a full refurbishment, which is why the move has been taken. But we know what the public sentiment is, and that was a sense of sadness, because this is such a long-standing, in fact, the oldest surviving Indian restaurant. But let me throw this to all of you. What's your reaction if this were to close down? Who wants to go? Billy.
Well, first of all, I don't even want to think about that, for the simple reason that this is an iconic place, and oddly enough, this was brought home to me. I mean, sheer serendipity. I get into the cab this morning. Look here. And
to come here?
Yes. And he says, well, where do you want to go? I said, 99 Regent Street. He says, well, tell me what it is. I said, it's a restaurant. It's just a restaurant. It's Veeraswamy. He says, you should have said that. Because every cabbie in London knows Veeraswamy. Not only do they know Veeraswamy, they can spell Veeraswamy. For God's sake, how long has it been around? 60 years? 70 years? I said, almost 100. Yeah. And you know what his words were? Wow, it was a part of the British Empire, honestly. Direct quote.
Yeah.
And he says, I've taken so many people there over the years, and then to which I commented, I said, well, that's why London is a cosmopolitan city.
Yeah.
He says, we love it.
Yeah.
We love it that we have all of this.
Considering the love that the royal family perhaps has for Indian food, just all things Indian, and the fact that Veeraswamy has catered to the late Queen Elizabeth. Namita, yes. With your heart, tell us how this came about and how you gave a rebirth to Veeraswamy.
Well, I also want to, Radhika, talk about the late Queen, Her Majesty. We'd been invited, Veeraswamy has been invited by her twice to cater at the Buckingham Palace.
So tell me, 28 years ago, when you took over Veeraswamy, from then to now, take us back to 28 years ago and what it is today, and how much of a loss it may be, not just monetarily, which I presume is a lot, but emotionally, if you were to move out of this building.
Well, first of all, let me tell you, if you move out, it's like saying the Taj Mahal Hotel in Bombay can move from the Apollo Bandar, and why don't we put it in Bandra Kurla? You know, it's a non-starter. You can't move a legend. You can't move Buckingham Palace to Essex. I mean, you can't do that.
Yeah.
You know, and then say, but it exists. So I think the Crown Estate, as Karan has said, it beggars belief, you know. What are they doing it for, really? Is it really for 11 square meters of reception space to make their place a little bit grander? And in the end, they're going to get what? A couple of £100,000 more for rent a year? And for that, you're willing to jettison a living legend of 100 years? It doesn't make sense. But we have, talking about what we have done, we have bought Veeraswamy because it was a declining brand, and because we knew what it was in the 1920s or 30s, which was the era of glamour. And so we said we were going to bring it back. And as you see now, it is not only hugely successful, it's full every night, but it really is back to what it should be, which is representing what Britain was with India historically in the 1930s.
Yeah.
But gastronomically, you have taken it 10 notches above where Veeraswamy was, in the sense that is the difference you've made.
That's a husband giving a compliment to a wife about good meal.
Because they're here.
Because the point about the cuisine is that what's interesting about the Veeraswamy cuisine historically was it was good Indian food. It had, in the older days, it had mixture of Indian food and European food, because in the 30s, the local English ladies did not have curries. So the men had the curries and they had European food. And so, but what Namita and Camellia have done is they've actually created as well, in gastronomic terms, what they've also done visually and in terms of idiom. That's also very important. This restaurant represents amongst the best Indian food in the world.
I've got to make one really important point. It's actually a really obvious point. But we think about this country and how it's evolved. I mean, this country, when I came as a student in the 1980s, there was a country with a glass ceiling. It was a country where entrepreneurship wasn't really celebrated. The country where British food and cuisine in Britain was a laughingstock of the world. Today, London is the restaurant capital of the world with the finest food all over the world available.
Absolutely.
What has happened in these decades, what has led the way, is that Indian food has become the most popular food in the UK. There are 12,000 Indian restaurants in every corner of the United Kingdom, from Northern Ireland to Scotland to Wales to England. Where did it all start? It started right here where we're sitting. So this is the home of Indian food 100 years ago in this country, that the whole of this country now benefits from. I give talks and I ask people, how many of you love Indian food? 100% of the hands.
Of course.
And we have Veeraswamy to thank for it. So how can they even think of jeopardizing or in any way harming that solid foundation of what is something so great about Great Britain?
This isn't slight protest, is it? It's quite clearly a way of saying it's a non-starter to move out Veeraswamy, because what's evident to me is that this isn't about one family or one restaurant or a private business. This is to do with brand Britain, as Karan put. This is to do with just the journey and the evolution of Indian food. And it's more than just economic loss. It seems like there will be disastrous consequences to tourism, to many aspects, to cultural identities that London is so famous for. So certainly a call for a rethink and a reconsideration. And how many of you have signed the petition? Do you have signatures coming up? You have. Okay, quickly, how many signatures have come on?
We've got 16,000.
16,000 signatures and counting. And counting and cooking. In Veeraswamy. Thank you so much for spending your morning with NDTV on this conversation. It was important to get not just a little bit about the controversy and about the options that legally are in front of Veeraswamy, but to also put into context just why this is not just a restaurant. And I think that was evident with all of your memories that were shared. Thanks very much. And if you have opinion or comments to share, you know where to find me. And there is this petition which we will speak about and share about just in the comments as well. Thanks ever so much. Thank you.